What made your sweet grandma snap in front of the entire family? My grandmother was 74 when she finally lost it at Thanksgiving dinner. For 53 years, she'd been the perfect matriarch, cooking elaborate meals, sending birthday cards with crisp 20s tucked inside, and defending every terrible decision her children made. She'd smile through my Uncle Dennis stealing from her jewelry box. She'd pretend not to notice when my Aunt Veronica parked her kids at Grandma's house for weeks while she found herself in Vegas. She never said a word about how my father only called when he needed money. That Thanksgiving, she'd spent 3 days cooking. Turkey, ham, 7 side dishes, 4 pies. The dining room looked like a magazine spread with her good china and the tablecloth she'd hand-embroidered. By 2 p.m., everyone had arrived. 16 of us crammed around her table, already arguing about politics and whose kids were more successful. Uncle Dennis showed up 40 minutes late, already drunk, with his newest girlfriend. A woman half his age wearing a dress that barely covered anything. He didn't apologize. Just grabbed a beer from the fridge and complained the turkey looked dry. Aunt Veronica spent the entire meal on her phone, occasionally snapping at her kids to shut up while she talked to her new boyfriend. Her youngest, Tyler, was throwing mashed potatoes at his sister, while Veronica ignored them completely. My father sat at the head of the table, Grandpa's old spot, even though Grandma had specifically set that place empty with Grandpa's photo. Dad just moved the picture aside, saying, "He's been dead 8 years, Mom. Time to move on." That's when I saw something shift in Grandma's face. Just a flicker, like a match being struck. My cousin Brittany announced she was pregnant again, her 4th kid with a 4th different father. She laughed about not knowing this one's last name. But he drives a Mercedes, so child support should be good. Uncle Dennis raised his beer. "Here's to another welfare baby." Everyone laughed. Everyone except Grandma. She stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen, and returned carrying the turkey platter. We assumed she was bringing seconds. Instead, she stopped behind Uncle Dennis's chair. "You know what, Dennis?" Her voice was different. Quiet but sharp, like a blade being unsheathed. "I'm done." "Done with what, Ma?" He didn't even look up from his phone. She lifted the entire turkey, all 22 pounds of it, and dropped it directly onto his lap. Gravy and stuffing exploded everywhere. His girlfriend shrieked as cranberry sauce splattered across her dress. The room went dead silent. 50 years, Grandma said, her voice rising. 50 years of pretending you're not all parasites. Aunt Veronica stood up, indignant. "Mother, how dare—" Grandma grabbed the bowl of green bean casserole and dumped it over Veronica's head. Green beans and crispy onions cascaded down her freshly highlighted hair. "Sit down, Veronica. I'm not finished." My dad tried to stand, but Grandma pointed at him with a serving spoon like it was a weapon. "You move, Richard, and I'll tell everyone about the money you stole from your father's life insurance." He sat back down so fast his chair scraped against the floor. Grandma walked around the table, her orthopedic shoes squelching through the food on the floor. She looked each of us in the eye. "I have cancer," she announced. "Stage 4. 3 months, maybe 6. My aunt gasped, reaching for Grandma's hand. "Mom, we can— save it." Grandma yanked her hand away. "You haven't called me in 4 months, but I bet you'll be real interested in visiting now that there's an inheritance to think about." She walked to the china cabinet, the one filled with her precious Hummel figurines she'd collected for decades. We watched in horror as she opened the glass door and began pulling them out, one by one, and smashing them against the wall. "Mom, those are worth thousands!" Dennis screamed, turkey grease still dripping from his lap. "We're worth thousands," she corrected, demolishing a shepherdess against the doorframe. That's when she said something that changed everything. "I sold the house last month." The room erupted. Everyone started screaming at once. That house was worth $2 million. That house was supposed to be their inheritance. That house had been in the family for 60 years. "To who?" my father roared, his face purple with rage. "To a developer. They're tearing it down next week to build condos." Grandma smiled, and it wasn't her usual warm smile. It was something else entirely. "I close escrow Monday." Uncle Dennis stumbled to his feet, turkey sliding off onto his girlfriend's designer shoes. "You can't do this. We're your children." "Exactly," Grandma said. "My children. The ones who haven't visited unless you needed something. The ones who treat me like a bank and a babysitter." She looked at my cousins. "How many of you even know my maiden name? My favorite color? What I did before I married your grandfather?" Silence. That's what I thought. She walked over to the hutch where she kept the family photo albums. The ones she'd meticulously maintained for decades, documenting every birthday, graduation, and holiday. She picked up the oldest one, from 1970, and opened it. "Want to know something funny? I've been keeping 2 sets of books for 40 years. She flipped through pages, and I could see her neat handwriting next to each photo. But it wasn't the usual Dennis's 5th birthday or Veronica's first day of school. Instead, I saw entries like Dennis stole $50 from purse and Richard lied about car accident. Every single time one of you disappointed me, betrayed me, or used me, I wrote it down. She held up another album. "This one's just from the last 5 years. It's 300 pages long." My Aunt Veronica tried to compose herself, green beans still dangling from her hair. "Mother, you're obviously not well. This cancer has affected your judgment. We should call Dr. Morrison." "Already did," Grandma interrupted. "Had a full psychiatric evaluation last week. Want to see the report? Says I'm of completely sound mind. Had it notarized too, just in case any of you tried to contest what comes next." "What comes next?" My father's voice was barely a whisper. Grandma pulled out a manila envelope from behind the ruined turkey platter. "I've already distributed the estate, all of it." "To who?" Dennis demanded. "If not us, then who?" "Gladys, the woman who cleans my house every week for the past 15 years. She gets 50,000, more than any of you ever bothered to know her name. Martin, the grocery store clerk who carries my bags to the car and asks about my health. He gets 30,000. The nice couple next door who mow my lawn without being asked and invite me for dinner every Sunday, they get 100,000. She continued reading from her list. The mailman who always waited to make sure she got her packages. The librarian who saved books she thought Grandma would like. The teenage boy who shoveled her driveway all winter and refused payment. In total, I've given away $8 million to 37 people who showed me more kindness in the last decade than my own family has. You gave our money to strangers? Brittany shrieked, her fourth pregnancy announcement completely forgotten. My money, Grandma corrected. Your grandfather's money. Money he worked himself into an early grave to earn while you all waited for him to die so you could spend it. Uncle Dennis lunged for the papers, but Grandma was faster than any of us expected. She grabbed the gravy boat and threw its contents right in his face. He stumbled backward, slipped on the mashed potatoes Tyler had thrown earlier, and crashed into the china cabinet. The remaining Hummels shattered on impact. I'm not done, Grandma announced, pulling out her phone. Everyone wondering why Cousin Patricia isn't here? Or why Uncle Frank hasn't shown up for 5 years? Or why your Aunt Louise moved to Canada? She started swiping through her phone. They all told me the truth about you people. Patricia told me how Dennis borrowed $30,000 for a business venture and never paid it back. Frank explained how Richard convinced him to invest his retirement in a pyramid scheme. Louise? She left because Veronica spread rumors about her husband having an affair, which wasn't true, by the way. Mom, please, my father pleaded. We can work this out. We could have, Grandma agreed. If any of you had shown up when I called you 6 months ago, remember? I said I needed to talk to everyone about something important. Every single one of you had an excuse. Dennis had a golf tournament. Veronica was getting her nails done. You, Richard, said you were too busy with work. Though I know for a fact you were at a casino in Atlantic City. She pulled out another piece of paper. That was the day I got my diagnosis. I was going to tell you in person. Give you a chance to maybe, just maybe, act like a family. Instead, I sat here alone, staring at an empty table, and decided I was done pretending. The room fell silent except for Tyler crying, the first genuine emotion I'd heard all day. But Grandma, my youngest cousin Mia said quietly, what about us? The grandkids? For the first time since she'd started her rampage, Grandma's expression softened. You're not your parents, sweetheart. Those of you under 21 have trust funds that will activate when you graduate college. Real college, not some online scam. The money's already locked away where your parents can't touch it. She looked directly at me. Except you, Rosemary. You get nothing. My heart stopped. I'd always been her favorite. I visited every weekend. I called her every night. Because you already got yours, she continued and smiled, her real smile this time. I transferred it to you last month. Check your bank account. My phone buzzed. I looked down to see a deposit notification for $500,000. What? The explosion from my family was instant. Rosemary is the only one who visited because she wanted to, not because she needed something. She brought her boyfriend to meet me, not to size up the house, but because she wanted my opinion. She asked about my stories, looked at my old photos, learned my recipes because she actually wanted them, not because they might be worth something on some cooking blog. Grandma walked over and put her hand on my shoulder. She also knows my maiden name was Waverly. My favorite color is the specific shade of purple that morning glories get at sunrise. And before I married your grandfather, I was training to be a concert pianist until I gave it up to raise you ungrateful shits. Dennis's girlfriend chose that moment to speak up. This is insane. Dennis, we're leaving. Your family is psycho. Oh, honey, Grandma turned to her. Dennis isn't going anywhere with you. See, I hired a private investigator. You're married. Your husband's name is Gerald, and he's currently deployed in Afghanistan. I sent him a lovely email with some very interesting photos from Dennis's Instagram. The woman went white. You didn't. Check your phone. He should be calling right about now. As if on cue, the girlfriend's phone exploded with notifications. She grabbed her purse and ran out, slipping on gravy and cranberry sauce, leaving Dennis standing there covered in turkey and betrayal. Now, Grandma said, surveying the destruction. I need you all to leave. The cleaning crew I hired will be here in an hour, and the locksmith is coming right after. You're changing the locks? Aunt Veronica screeched. Already did last week. You've all been using the fake keys I had made. They'll stop working at midnight tonight. My father stood up, trying one last time to assert authority. Mom, you can't just... Richard, sit down before I tell everyone about your second mortgage on your house. The one your wife doesn't know about. The one you took out to pay for your girlfriend's apartment. My mother, who'd been silent this entire time, slowly turned to look at my father. What girlfriend? The one he's been seeing for 3 years, Grandma supplied helpfully. Every Tuesday and Thursday when he says he's at racquetball. Her name's Jennifer. She's 26, works at his office. Pregnant too, according to my investigator. My mother stood up, walked over to the pie table, picked up the chocolate cream, and smashed it directly into my father's face. Then she walked out without a word. Anyone else want to test me? Grandma asked. Dennis, should we talk about your embezzlement? Veronica, want to discuss the credit cards you took out in my name? Brittany, interested in hearing what your first baby daddy, the one you said abandoned you, told me about why he really left? One by one, they filed out, some crying, some screaming, some in shocked silence. Only Mia stayed behind, still sitting at the table. Can I ask you something, Grandma? She said softly. Of course, sweetheart. Do you really have cancer? Grandma sat down next to her and pulled her close. Yes, baby, I do, and I've made peace with it. I've had a good life, at least the parts without these people making it miserable. But I wasn't going to spend my last months watching them circle like vultures pretending to care. Are you scared? No. You know what scared me? The thought of dying without ever telling them the truth, of having them give fake eulogies about what a loving family we were, of them selling my house and my things while pretending to mourn. She kissed Mia's forehead. I'm free now. Over the next 3 months, the family fragmented completely. Dennis's embezzlement was exposed and he went to prison. Veronica's husband divorced her when he found out about the credit card fraud. My parents' divorce was brutal and public. Brittany's ex successfully sued for full custody of their son after learning she'd lied about him in court. But Grandma? She spent those months traveling. She sent me postcards from Paris, photos from Tokyo, videos from a beach in Fiji. She ate everything she'd denied herself for decades. She went skydiving. She learned to tango. She spent an obscene amount of money on things that made her happy. She died on a Tuesday morning in March, in a hospice room overlooking the ocean. I was the only family member there. The others had been banned by legal order after trying to contest the will. Her last words to me were, "Promise me something, Rosemary. Anything, Grandma. Promise me that when you have a family, you'll teach them to love each other for real. Not for money, not for appearances, not for what they can get. And if they can't," she squeezed my hand weakly, "promise me you'll have the courage to walk away before you waste 50 years pretending." "I promise," she smiled. "Good. Now there's one more thing. Check the bottom drawer of my jewelry box when you get home. The real one, not the decoy I kept for Dennis to steal from. Inside that drawer, I found a USB drive and a note. For the book you're going to write about this. Make sure you change the names. Make it funny. I always thought it was funny, even when it hurt. So I did. I wrote it all down. Every word, every terrible Thanksgiving, every revelation. The book became a bestseller. The family tried to sue but couldn't prove it was about them since I'd changed enough details. The money from the book sales? I donated it to a charity Grandma would have loved, one that helps elderly people escape abusive family situations. It's called Waverly House, after her maiden name. Uncle Dennis sent me a letter from prison last month, asking if I could loan him money for his commissary account. I sent him a photo of Grandma from Fiji, flipping off the camera with a Mai Tai in her other hand. On the back, I wrote what she would have wanted me to say. "Eat shit, Dennis. Love, Grandma." The last time I saw my extended family was at the demolition of Grandma's house. We all got notices from the developer. Apparently, Grandma had added a clause that we'd each receive $100 if we attended the demolition. One final manipulation, one last way to make us all show up. We stood there, scattered around the lot, not talking to each other, watching as the wrecking ball swung toward the house where we'd spent 50 years pretending to be a happy family. As the first wall crumbled, I noticed something painted on the inside, graffiti that hadn't been there before. In bright purple letters, Grandma's favorite color, someone had written, "It was all bullshit anyway." The demolition crew swore they didn't know who did it, but I recognized the handwriting. Grandma must have snuck back one last time with a can of spray paint, probably giggling like a teenager as she defaced her own property. My cousin Mia walked over and stood next to me. She'd just turned 18 and received her trust fund notification that morning. "Was it worth it?" she asked. "What Grandma did?" I thought about the question as the house collapsed into rubble. She died honest. How many people can say that? Mia nodded. I got into Juilliard, music composition. Grandma would have loved that. She always said you inherited her musical genes. I'm writing a piece about her, about all of this. It's called Thanksgiving Variations in F sharp. F sharp because that's what she said the most that day. F this, F that, F all of you. We both laughed. Probably inappropriate given the circumstances, but Grandma would have approved. As the last beam fell, the developer handed out our checks, the final $100 we'd ever receive connected to Grandma. Most of the family grabbed theirs and left immediately, but Mia and I stayed until the very end, watching them clear the rubble. "You know what the really sad part is?" Mia said as we walked to our cars. "What?" They still don't get it. They're all angry about the money, the house, the humiliation, but none of them are sad about losing her. Even now, it's still about what they didn't get, not who they lost. She was right. In all the lawsuits and fights and bitter emails that followed, not one person ever said they missed her. They missed her money, her house, her cooking, her babysitting, but not her. I visited Grandma's grave yesterday. Someone had left fresh morning glories, purple ones, exactly the shade she loved. There was no card, but I recognized the handwriting on the ribbon. It was Martin, the grocery store clerk. He still remembered her favorite flower 2 years later. That's the difference, I realized. The people Grandma gave money to weren't random strangers. They were the ones who saw her as a person, not a resource. They earned their inheritance by treating her like she mattered. The family still doesn't speak to me. They blame me for taking Grandma's side, for not warning them, for writing the book. My father sent one last message before I blocked him. "You're just like her." He meant it as an insult. I took it as the highest compliment I've ever received. Every Thanksgiving now, I order Chinese food and watch the video I secretly recorded of Grandma's rampage. I had my phone propped up behind the centerpiece, originally planning to capture family memories. Instead, I caught the moment a 74-year-old woman decided she was done being everyone's doormat. The video is shaky, the audio sometimes muffled by people screaming, but you can hear her clear as day when she says, 50 years of pretending you're not all parasites. I've watched it hundreds of times, and every time, right before she dumps the turkey on Dennis, you can see the exact moment she makes the decision. It's barely a second, just a tiny smile, a straightening of her shoulders, a deep breath. That's the moment Dorothy Waverly Thompson stopped being Grandma and started being herself again. Sometimes, late at night, I think about those 50 years. All the dinners she cooked that no one thanked her for, all the insults she swallowed, all the times she was treated like furniture that dispensed money and food. I think about the woman who wanted to be a concert pianist, who gave up her dreams to raise children who couldn't even remember her maiden name. But mostly, I think about those last 3 months. Grandma, terminally ill but finally free, dancing on a beach in Bali. Grandma eating ice cream for breakfast in Rome. Grandma laughing, really laughing, for the first time in decades. The investigator she hired told me something at the funeral. He said when he gave her the final report, all the evidence of her children's lies and betrayals, she didn't cry. She didn't even look surprised. She just said, "I knew all of it already. I just needed proof for the lawyers." Then she hired me for one more job. What job? Finding good people. She gave me a list of criteria. People who were kind when they didn't have to be. People who helped without being asked. People who remembered others' names and stories. She wanted to know everything about them. Make sure they deserved what she was going to give them. How long did that take? 6 months. She started planning this a full year before that Thanksgiving. Every detail, every revelation, even the turkey drop. She practiced with a frozen one to make sure she could lift it. That's what people don't understand about Grandma's snap. It wasn't spontaneous. It was premeditated. She didn't lose control. She took it back. Last week, I got a letter from one of the hospice nurses who cared for her. Inside was a photo I'd never seen. Grandma at maybe 25, sitting at a grand piano in what looked like a concert hall. On the back, in her shaky handwriting, this was who I was before I became who they needed me to be. Make sure Rosemary knows. I framed it. It sits on my piano now, the one I bought with the money she left me. I'm teaching myself to play, slowly, badly, but getting better. Sometimes I imagine her sitting next to me, correcting my posture, fixing my hand position. Don't wait 50 years, she'd probably say. If they don't see you for who you are, if they only see what you can give them, then give them the truth. Give them all of it at once, and then give them nothing else. So that's what made my sweet grandma snap in front of the entire family. 50 years of being unseen, 50 years of being used, 50 years of being everything to everyone but herself. But in the end, she got the last word. And the last laugh, and the last 3 months of her life lived entirely on her own terms. The developer who bought the house sent me something last month. While excavating for the condos, they found a time capsule Grandma had buried in 1970. Inside were photos of her at the piano, acceptance letters from 3 prestigious music conservatories, and a journal entry dated the day before her wedding. Tomorrow, I become Mrs. Richard Thompson Sr. I'll be a good wife, a good mother, a good grandmother. I'll bury Dorothy Waverly so deep that no one will ever find her. But maybe someday, when I'm old and the stakes don't matter anymore, I'll dig her back up. And when I do, God help anyone who stands in her way. 54 years later, she kept that promise. And God help them all, she certainly did.